guys, I'm the Dow King, and there's a lot of talk about will USDC survive, and there's just a lot of really bad information. So I just want to put out this quick video to kind of give you the rundown of what's going on. But not only that, I was going to do another video today regarding this really cool NFT project. But I'm going to do this, hopefully do that later. So make sure to subscribe and like because you want to hear about this one. This NFT project actually pays you back in BTC and Bitcoin, which you're going to want in times like this. But if you would have woken up, or last night, if you were on Twitter, the amount of bad information out there on USDC was insanity. I actually took advantage of it because unlike the clowns that are on Twitter and YouTube all over the place with bad information, I have something that most people in crypto don't have. It's called critical thinking. And I also know this other thing called math. So we're going to put those two skills to work and see how you can also not get into this Twitter storm. Like you start seeing graphs like this, you start seeing people, I mean, it's just look at this context, no context. How's your Friday night going? She thinks she's funny, but there's people, look at her reach. It's absolutely enormous. Almost 1 million people saw this, start to panic. It breeds panic. Look at all this panic that was going on last night. It's absolutely insane. Look at all this. And it's a lot of just bad information, Now, let's talk about what basically happened and what basically is going to fix all this. So this is if you look at what happened with a Silicon Valley bank, basically you can come up here, you can go to the New York Times, and you can kind of see what happens. Basically the bank sold $21 billion of its assets, most easily sellable investments, crystallizing a $1.8 billion after-tax loss. Not huge for the bank of its size, and borrowed $15 billion. It also announced plans to raise $2.25 billion. So they had a shortfall that they were trying to cover. From what I've seen, the shortfall is around $15 billion, which they probably with this loan would have covered. And with this, they would have been more than enough. But they were having a bank run, so they couldn't access those other assets that they had, the easily sellable assets right away. So they were forced to take a loss. So this is kind of what happened in a simplified manner. At the end of the day, they have the assets to cover everyone, but they won't come due for a couple of years. So that's the problem. However, the money that is tied up, which is the money that if you can go to Twitter, there's actually once in a while good information on Twitter. The $3.3 billion that is tied up, this guy Hall Pass actually made a really good assessment of everything and where all the money is, and it's on my Twitter. You can go to Dow Kingdom, you can take a look. I retweeted it here, but if you actually look to see what's going on, you'll see that the $3.3 billion that is of Circle isn't all at risk. I would say from my calculations, I mean, he said it's a likely $300 million hole. My calculations, that's probably correct. They're probably going to get 90% of the money back. Let's say 80%. And that's if the Silicon Valley Bank isn't saved by the feds, which I think it will be. I think the federal government's going to save this bank because it has a lot of assets and a lot of connections. And also, if they don't save it, you're talking about, they're saying 50% of the money from all the startups in Silicon Valley are in this bank. That's what America is built on. Google, Facebook, all of these startups, Yahoo, eBay, PayPal, Tesla. You can't have these startups not have access to their money. Who's the next Tesla and the next Yahoo? And the Biden administration doesn't want to be the one that says, yeah, we killed the next Tesla or the next Google. So it's not going to happen. They're smart enough to know that they can't let these things happen. Now, the calculations that I made, based on the information that is not panic, is that there's about a 97 to 98 cents per USDC on a kind of a worst case scenario. Okay. That's kind of the worst case scenario, but maybe they don't have access to it all right away. Now, the great news, look at this. Circle last raised at a $9 billion valuation and currently earned $1.5 billion annual interest from its treasury holdings. This is the best business model I've ever seen. You're giving Circle free money. They put it in the bank and they earn interest on your money. This is a great business model. So they have $1.5 billion a year. And that's based, I would assume, on old interest rates, not on current rates that they're probably going to get. They're going to get paid more on those T-bills, right? So they're probably closer to maybe even $2.5 billion a year in profits. And they've been doing this for a couple of years. I'm sure they have some reserves. Circle most likely can bring this back to peg to $1. Fairly simple, fairly easily. They have access to capital. I know they were going to go public at some point last year, decided to scrap it. However, they have access to capital, a lot of access to capital, and they can easily bridge this. The problem is a lot of people are saying, well, Circle, you can buy it for, at one point, 94 cents and go redeem it for $1. It's going to cause a bank run on them on Monday. Well, it's unlikely Circle's so stupid that they're going to allow that to happen. They're probably going to say, if a buyout of the bank hasn't happened, they're probably going to put a halt on that. And they're going to say, hey, give us a couple of days, we'll figure it out. They can bring their own money and own resources to back that $3.3 billion up, because look how profitable these guys are. Look at these numbers. And this is based on old numbers. It's more profitable than this. They're not going to throw away a $1.5 to $2 billion a year profit for a couple $100 million, or even for $3.3 billion, where they can make it back in a year or two. So you got to use logic. You just have to use logic, which is unfortunately missing. And look, Roku has already come out and said Roku has $487 million cash equivalent in uninsured deposit at the failed Silicon Valley Bank. So you're going to start hearing more of this, and you're going to start hearing more of these stories, and it's just going to pick up more and more steam. So at the end of the day, guys, I don't think there's much to worry about. I think what you're going to see, yes, you see all this crap on Twitter and all the stupid people making fun of it. What you're going to start to see, and people have lost billions of dollars, millions of dollars in some cases, because they were sitting in this stable asset. And by the way, if you were smart enough and had critical thinking, you would have traded it like I did last night. Look at this. I didn't get enough because I was just opening up positions slowly, because that's what I've learned when you leverage. I leveraged this 30x. So I started buying it at 0.88 cents. Look at this crazy. And it went on Bybit all the way down to 80, like 384. So if you use critical thinking out here and don't get into the Twitter hype, you can make money. Now, I should have made an enormous amount of money yesterday, but I didn't think this was going to pump so fast. I was slowly opening up a position, and you can see I opened up a position here, and I was 30x leverage. I only put in a few $100s, because by the time I put in money and I came back, it was starting to move up again, like quickly. And I didn't want to open a position, and then I closed the position literally within an hour and a half. I doubled my money. I think I made a couple $100s. And what else I did was, around the same price, I started moving my tether that I had on exchanges over to USDC. So I make a couple bucks over there too. So, and I think that was around 88 or 89 cents also. So this is a learning lesson. Don't panic. Look at the data. There was a lot of great data. I know. You know what I do a lot of times? I actually go to my own Discord a lot of times, and I ask questions, because there's a lot of really smart people over there. So make sure to join the Dow King Discord. I'll put the link down here for you guys. And the guys, Forker up in here. Thanks, Forker. He was very knowledgeable about this stuff. He led me down the right path, where I started doing more research and started seeing what's going on. And I saw a couple guys were doing 30x leverage also, and I think even more on buying it and where to go. They're like Bybit. Fortunately, I had a Bybit account. I didn't have to set anything up. So these are things that happen. This is the interaction with other people that know. You should definitely join a group out there, whether it's a Twitter or a Discord, where you're talking to other people that know. And I got the NFT project coming this week still. And there's another one coming right after it that mine BTC. What I'm trying to do, guys, so make sure to subscribe. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get it into these projects that are long-term, that are going to mine BTC now that the price is cheap, and get it at a low energy cost. And I'm going to stack that BTC for cheap, because 2023 might be a little rough, but also flight to safety is BTC. BTC and ETH is the flight to safety, and that's why you didn't see them really fall off that much. In fact, I started buying BTC when the market was kind of getting shaky a few weeks ago. Again, I bought some yesterday, and the reason I'm buying it is because it's decentralized. It's the safest asset I can think of, that and Ethereum, right? And even BNB is starting to look good. I'm starting to change my mindset on BNB to a degree, because it is being backed by Binance, which is starting to look really good. So these are things you got to think about long term. And I'm thinking long term BTC. I'm thinking 2024. I'm thinking 2025 when the halving happens. I want to be in projects that are going to be minting and paying me in BTC that I bought cheap now, and have cheap access to cheap energy. So that's where my mindset is going. So anyway, guys, nothing's going to happen to USDC. I think it's going to get bought out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a black eye to the Biden administration. If they don't, they're going to get a lot of shit for it. It's going to hurt Silicon Valley, who is also one of their biggest backers. I don't see it. I don't see them not backing them up. I don't see it. And the hole really isn't that big. You know, Morgan Stanley, you know, Chase, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Mellon, all these guys are chomping at the bits to get this bank and have access to the Rokus of the world, the next startups of the world, the Googles of this world. They're chomping at it. Trust me. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you soon. Take